Well, I think in light of the time, let's go ahead and get started. First, for just some introductions, I'm Brian Unruh, a turf specialist here at the University of Florida. Been with IFAS for about 28 years, and so excited to be able to share with you a project that's been well over a year in the making. And so we're kind of unveiling it internally within the IFAS audience today. And as we'll talk here, we'll be releasing this very broadly here in the next couple weeks. And so just for a little bit of housekeeping in the webinar side of things, there is the Q&A, the question and answer portal that is open. And I encourage you to post questions that you may have in the Q&A. That way we can respond to those as they come about. And so again, excited to be here and talk about this, the IFAS soil test kit that is powered by Soil Kit. And with me today, just I'll do a brief introduction now, but Christine Warner McGinnis is our partner in this, and you'll be hearing much more from her after bid. And so, the current or the great debate, I guess we could call it, is, Florida's urban landscapes have been the center of much debate regarding their contribution to Florida's water quality challenges. And internally within IFAS, we've really been spending probably the last 4 or 5 years from a very broad base trying to kind of wrestle this through this great debate and really looking at, what does the future urban landscape look like? But even in the middle of all this debate, there's kind of two resounding things that come from that debate. And the first is that water quality concerns are quite valid. We don't have to go very far in Florida, and we realize that our water resources are being threatened. And you can see here on the right of this screen, we see this our TMDL map, and so that map just kind of shows us where our water quality problems are most emphasized, and so that is undeniable. We do have water quality concerns, and they're very valid. And the second thing I think that can be agreed upon is that people desire to have a beautiful landscape. And so what that beautiful landscape looks like now and into the future, that's, again, been part of this big discussion that is out there. I personally believe that we can minimize water quality concerns, water quantity concerns as well, and we can still have a beautiful landscape. It's a matter of really providing good education. And really, since about the year 2000 in the state of Florida, we've been focused on best management practices. And so we have the Florida Friendly Landscaping Handbook for Home Landscapes, and so that book is targeted towards those kind of do-it-yourselfers, those lawn and garden enthusiasts. We have the best management practices for the protection of water resources by the green industries, and so that commercial audience that maintains our urban landscapes. My big focus is on golf course management, and so we have best management practices for the enhancement of Florida's golf courses. And then, not to be left out, our sod producers likewise actually have a regulatory BMP in that they can adopt those by rule and have a level of protection that is afforded to them through the legislative process. But even with probably 400 pages of text, we still find folks wrestling with how to best manage their urban landscape. And so we've seen, those that are outside of IFAS sound off and try to help in this challenge as well. And this marketing ad was put out. This is actually from the greater Pensacola area. And it says, when you're fertilizing your lawn, remember, you're not just fertilizing the lawn. And, in the statement here, you fertilize the lawn, then it rains. The rain washes the fertilizer along the curb into the storm drain and directly into our waterways. And I could argue that statement, we shouldn't be fertilizing the curb, we should be fertilizing the lawn, but nonetheless. And then it says the nutrients encourage algae to grow, using up the oxygen that fish need to survive, resulting in fish kills. And then there's the statement in there, and it says, so if you fertilize, please follow directions and use sparingly. And that kind of then points back to those BMP manuals. And so then we look at, in particular, obviously as a turf grass scientist, I'm focused on the turf. We can really muddy this water up a bit. Those of you on the call webinar today know that we recommend fertilizer in the state of Florida based kind of off of 3 geographic regions, North, Central, and Florida. And we have these kind of arbitrary lines that that delineate those three zones. And then we try to identify which grass is in the landscape: Bahia, Bermuda, Centipede, St. Augustine, Zoysian. And then we provide a range of rates that the applicators or the homeowners or whoever they are supposed to adhere to. And then we put a lot of footnotes. And anytime you put a footnote, you start confusing people. And so this is in and of itself can be quite a challenge. And then we throw on top of that the desperate need that many municipalities and counties have taken to try to curb their water quality challenges through the process of passing and enacting these fertilizer ordinances. So confusing that several years ago, we partnered with the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program with some funding from some of the allied associations to develop our fertilizer ordinance app. And the vision there is an applicator who was out working in the state could pull out his or her cell phone with geolocate capabilities, mash a button, and would be able to know exactly what ordinance is in place where they were physically standing. And so this fertilizer ordinance app is still being used. But again, it just creates yet an additional layer of complexity in an already challenging environment. And then on top of that, we encourage our clientele to soil test. And those tenets of proper soil testing include sampling, the actual test itself, what's done in the lab, and then the interpretations and the recommendations. And so we have IFAS publications, little videos on how to properly sample the soil. We send it to the lab. Sometimes it's sent to lots of different labs. And then here comes the interpretation and the recommendation. And it's those latter 2 points, that interpretation and that recommendation, that has created considerable confusion and frustration. And many of you that are on the webinar today have voiced your concerns and your frustration to me and said, we just need this to be simplified. It shouldn't take a PhD in soil science to understand what the heck is going on when these recommendations come back from the lab. And so when we bring all of that together, we are proposing today, and we'll be introducing to you internally, a vision and a path forward to eliminate some of this considerable confusion and frustration that is there. And so a little over a year ago, I brought to our administrators from Dr. Engel and our deans as well, this public-private partnership with Agritech, which is a Warner family company. And so this public-private partnership will launch February 15th to the general public. It is an easy-to-use soil testing platform with a consumer-friendly results interpretation that it comes through an online interface. And there you can see the graphic of what this packaging looks like. Again, so it's a IFAS extension soil test kit that is powered by Soil Kit. We have partnered through the Florida Friendly Landscape Program, and so Dr. Momal and her team have been engaged in these conversations. Again, it was over a year ago. I took this to central administration, and then we started working through the process to make this become a reality. The enhanced marketing and awareness. This is one of the benefits internally to IFAS that is going to come about through this co-branded soil test kit. It's direct linkages to our IFAS resources, whether they're our EDIS extension publications, our websites, or even the ability to the degree that you county extension agents want to be engaged. These results can be funneled back to you so that you can see kind of what's going on out there as well. This powerful tool that is being developed also will allow us to link our soil test recommendations to the fertilizer ordinance app data, resulting in location-specific application warnings. And so somebody from Hillsborough County or Pinellas County takes a soil sample, sends it off to the lab. When it hits the lab and the coding starts, a warning will be issued. They'll get their results, but then there will also be this warning that say, hey, you're in this restricted area. These precautions need to be taken. of probably the greatest excitement I have of this partnership is really here. And this partnership is going to generate some data sharing through this data sharing platform that will provide very useful data sets that we can then use with the artificial intelligence initiative that, if you've been, unless you've been under a rock, UF has really engaged this whole artificial intelligence thing. And so by bringing this geolocated data into the system, we will be able to really generate improved fertilizer recommendations, leading to reduced environmental impact. Again, we take 3 regions of the state. We take the 5 different lawn grasses, and that's about the extent of how far we get into our recommendations. We don't look at the soil organic matter content. We don't look at the age of the landscape. We don't look at, is this, a new development, what's below this, what soil is this thing being produced on? And so as this data starts to filter in, we can partner with other UF scientists to be able to really improve our fertilizer recommendations. And so those are just kind of 4 of the highlights of why I think this partnership is going to be really cool. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the Warners. And this is my research facility here. When I arrived at the University of Florida 28 years ago this month, this was basically everything you see that's green from this road over was corn. And I was tasked with building a turfgrass research facility. Well, at the same time, I was tasked with building a brand new research facility at the University of Florida. The Olympics were happening in the Atlanta area. And so when I started reaching out to sod producers to be able to get some grass to put some turf plots in, every blade of grass was going to Atlanta. But the Warners, I guess, took pity on me and provided a little bit of grass that really helped me launch my career at the University of Florida. And so we've had this. I've been knowing up here in the Panhandle and Lower Alabama. I've been knowing them for a long time. And so Christina Warner McGinnis is one of those family members that have been just great to work with. And so I think really Christina and I first met about the whole soil testing thing was, I think, back in 2017. And I don't think any of us ever envisioned where this thing would end up today, let alone that a partnership would be unveiled with the University of Florida. And so they have been a great family to work with, and the vision that is there. And you're just going to see kind of the tip of the iceberg today of what this soil kit will do for us. And so I'm going to turn it over to Christina Warner McGinnis and let her run with it from here.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Unruh. I appreciate that. I am going to jump right in and get going. It is an honor to be here. I have come to this moment with working with some very talented University of Florida team members and staff. And I cannot tell you, it has been a very big project to make sure that we incorporate all science and regulations and details that have gone into this, because at the end of the day, the consumer is looking to make this as simple as possible. And that's what we're working to do, is to take so much and make it so simple and easy. So we're super excited to introduce this to you guys today. And I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I feel like you guys are going to have a lot of questions. I can remember when my husband said back in 2002 or 3 that he was going to get me a phone that my emails could come to. And I didn't need that. I didn't need any of that technology. I didn't need to get my emails on my phone. And now suddenly today, I can't imagine life without it. So I look forward to what we're going to talk about in 2 years, that we've just grown immensely, and what could we ever do without this that we've done. One thing I want to keep in mind is, as you're looking at the product, the physical product is what's great. It's always going to be very similar. But like Dr. Unruh was talking about, we're going to be constantly evolving. Every 2 weeks, you will see some form of improvement. And that is because of our audience, our users providing feedback and making sure that they have more and more and more at their fingertips to use. As Dr. Unruh said, I am a 5th generation farmer from the Warner family, and that's me. Our agronomy cloud is collecting soil and other data. We want to help improve crop yields, reduce pollution, and also we want to start talking about carbon capture and the role that we do with soil health. Now, here's a timeline. January 31st, that's today. We're having this internal instructional webinar, and I will try to keep an eye out on Q&A and chat, or the Q&A. And so try to keep up. I think one of the questions was, is this going to replace the UF test? No, this is in addition to. We'll talk about this a lot in the webinar. This one is reaching that new customer, that convenient consumer. So this is not replacing the current soil test at UF. On February 14th, I will make sure that you have pay-on-use kits that are shipped to the extension offices. I'll have an introductory letter. I'll have all my information. I'll have a flyer about the pay-on-use, and I'll have an example of the results. You see here today, I have 2 kits sitting in front of me. One is pay-on-use that'll be found at the extension. One is sold online. I know that this one is not paid for. And the good news is, extension doesn't need to worry about collecting that. When the user comes into the extension office, picks one of these up, they open it up and go to the registration process. They pay upon registration, and we take care of that. On February 15th, a public press release is going to go out. The launch occurs. We're going to release on sale at soilkit.com/Florida. You'll have the pay-on-use kits at the extension office. And again, as we evolve, you're going to slowly see this launch in other places too. Maybe co-ops, other garden centers, Amazon, and so forth. And we'll continue to grow and grow. What is the kit? The kit is using the Malic 3 extraction method. We're going to test for pH, buffer pH, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, boron, manganese, all of those. Now, the test comes with, as you see, not only tracking, we're following along the whole process as the user uses this. Postage is paid, lab fee is paid. And we have a customer care card that keeps up. So not only when you register, the user is able to follow along in their dashboard, but we're following along too. You will see this for sale at soilkit.com/Florida. Here it is. We're actually offering an introductory price of $29.95. The normal price is $31. But just to kick this off with some excitement, we discounted it $2. And you'll see we have some limited crop codes on launch. This isn't doing corn and cotton. This primarily is focusing on the turf grasses. We really want to emphasize that this is the convenient consumer who's looking at just, can you help me, tell me how to take care of my lawn? Okay, now I'm going to try to be somewhat quiet because I think this is going to cover a lot of why this product was built the way it was. Because over and over, sitting at my grandmother's garden center, had someone come in and say, Christina, how much lime? What do I do? What kind of fertilizer do I use? And then I was trying to remember what month it was, what county are you in? What state are you in? Where's your local extension? Because some days I'd be in Mississippi, some days I'd be in Alabama, some days I'd be in Florida. And then when the results would come back and I'd finally connect with the consumer and he or she was told 2 pounds of nitrogen or this, that, and the other, they didn't know how to split it. They didn't know how to convert it to a 1648 or a 15015. They were very unsure of how that worked. So over and over, I went and asked a consultant who actually helped me build this as a retired extension officer. He came and we sat for hours and weeks. He said, let me pour on you all of the pain points that people have with soil testing. They don't know how many square feet they have. We put Google Satellite in. Well, they don't have time. We hit geolocate. We have over almost 60% of our users are on their mobile device. They pick up their phone and they're on their mobile device. And so over 60% of ours are literally out in the yard. They immediately start by, I know we've had too much of this during COVID, but the QR code, go to your phone app, take a picture of it, takes you to registration, puts the kit ID in for you and ask if you want to geolocate. You're going to have a soil test registered in just a matter of 30 seconds. And then when you're done, you put it in the postage paid and you raise the red flag with the USPS. And even then, if you have a problem, you can scan and have the USPS coordinated to come pick it up. We wanted to make sure that we took out all of the pain points that stop one of the most important tests that will give you the science to help prescribe what's the right thing. So I'm going to let you guys see this how it works video. It's a little over 3 minutes, but I think it's going to cover a good amount of how this all starts and ends.
Hey y'all, I'm Christina Warner McInnes, founder and CEO of Soil Kit by Agritech Corp. In this video, I'm going to show you just how easy and simple it is to do your soil test with the University of Florida Soil Test Kit. The University of Florida Soil Test Kits come with a sample bag, prepaid mailing envelope, customer care card, and instruction. Whether you obtain your University of Florida Soil Test Kit from an online source, an extension office, or another source, testing always starts with registration, which connects your soil sample and test results to you and your email address. To register, visit soilkit.com and click register. If you've already had an account, it's best to log in first and enter your email address. After that, enter your kit ID or scan the QR code on your sample bag or customer care card and enter your contact information. Next, identify your sample location by entering your address or use our geolocation technology. You can add a description or a nickname such as front yard or garden when submitting multiple samples. If you have logged in, you can choose default address to use the address from a prior test. Next, enter the size in square feet of your sample area so we can accurately calculate fertilizer quantities. If you are not sure, use our satellite-guided sizing tool. By clicking into the map with one finger, you can drop pins, which will automatically connect themselves. In most cases, we recommend one kit for every 10,000 square feet. After that, choose the type of crop or grass you're cultivating and confirm your registration. Now it's time to take your soil sample. Be sure to use a stainless steel or plastic trowel to avoid metal contamination. If your soil has been recently fertilized, you'll need to wait for 2 weeks before sampling. In choosing 4 sample locations, try to evenly distribute them across the sample area and avoid wet spots. Collect 2 scoops of soil at each location, 2 to 4 inches from the soil surface. Ensure the dirt has reached close to, but not beyond, the fill line on the bag. We recommend you write your name on the sample bag. Seal the sample bag by bending the tabs and put your sample bag into the prepaid mailing envelope. Seal the envelope and send. Be sure to keep your customer care card with your kit ID for reference. Within 1 to 2 business days of receipt, we will calculate your soil amendment needs and send you an email with a link to your test results. The View My Results link will take you to soilkit.com, where you can log into your dashboard. If you haven't already created an account, the system will prompt you to create one. If you have multiple tests, you will see a list of them. Click on the test result you are interested in. You will find easy to understand soil kit reference fertilizer recommendations calculated for you based on your University of Florida test results, the sample size, and the products available for purchase. You'll also find application instructions followed by lab calculated nutrient levels. At the bottom of the report, you may find a message on how to connect to your local extension. Now you can share your results with your landscaper or local lawn and garden center to obtain amendments recommended. If you purchased your soil kit online, simply click through the product recommendations and purchase the amendments online. We look forward to seeing your test results and helping you get a healthy lawn and garden.
Great.
Hey y'all,
It's always tricky when you got to put a video in. Let's go. Okay, so this is the fun part. Now I'm actually going to show you a live version of the results. So I know this for all of y'all that have my over 40 eyes. Don't worry, I'm about to show you a live version, but want to explain how we break it up. We break it up into here's what you will need. We've already split nitrogen. We've already done a bunch of the recommendations. Here's how much to use. And then we base it off of the science that comes back. So here you'll see the pH, organic matter, the base saturation, the different elements, and then even on the bottom footer, connect with your local extension agent. Again, making sure that we put those resources right in that digital platform. Now, let's talk about the difference. I know I briefly covered it, but again, we have 2 test kits. This one is paid for online, or maybe if they got it at Amazon or soilkit.com, this one is paid for. We know they register, go through the process. This one is a pay on use. They must be registered by the user before they arrive at the lab. So I think as an extension agent, I would emphasize as you hand this to someone that may come in and you can just see they need an extra touch. They want more information. They're very interactive. give them this kit and say, make sure to register at soilkit.com before you send it in. We'll take care of all the instructions. We'll take the payment and just make sure that that's registered. You will not be collecting payment. Now let's talk about the type of customers. Remember, does this replace the current UF test? No. We have limited crop. We're primarily focusing on grass on the launch to make sure that we provide the tool sets for the lawns. And like the traditional UF kit is very much for like farmers, annual customers, those who are very accustomed to the UF results, the white box, that whole process. They're good with it. What we want to do with Powered by Soil Kit is we really want to go after what I call the convenient consumer, the average homeowner, the commercial landscaper, and especially one that maybe is not currently connected to the extension and needs a little bit extra help understanding. I can't tell you how many times that somebody is interacting on our system after the 8 to 5, after the structured Monday through Friday. This provides literally a 24/7 platform to not only purchase, use, but interact with the process. So traditionally, the UF test, you'd have to pay for the test, you have to pay for shipping. And I can tell you firsthand, I walked a lady through Pensacola, Florida one time, shipped $17 shoebox to have her lab tested. We wanted to make sure everything was as concise, tracking, postage paid, consumer doesn't have to do any thinking in this process. What we will provide is we will make sure that we provide the customer service of where's my results? And then let's say the USPS gets one lost, we'll replace those. And we make the product recommendations based on the results. Now, one thing you'll see in the report, and we'll emphasize here, the following disclaimer will be a part of the process. The following report is based on University of Florida science. All product recommendations are made by Agritech Corp. University of Florida does not recommend or does not endorse products. However, for the products that we are recommending, I have solicited input from team and always have an open ear to hear what is the best fit that I can help guide users to have an even better experience with this process. We want to take the right science and pair it with the right product. And of course, you know, that's different according to results. So you guys can all interact with this today, as well as I'm going to show you some live results. So when you go to soilkit.com, if you're playing around with that today, if you click register kit, I have a demo kit for Florida. It is UFLD. You can put that in and you can go through the process. You can geolocate yourself, go through the satellite. The only thing I ask you is on the results, they're fake results. They're dummy results. So they're not real. So what I did is I actually gave you real UF results. So let's take a look at those. So right here, another fun thing. Remember how I told you I worked with a retired extension agent for weeks? Some people want pounds per 1,000 square foot. Some people like pounds per acre. Again, just depending on what the user preference is, you can flip the toggle. Fun thing here, you'll see all of our different things link around. So you can literally interact in the dashboard and go all different places with UF. Here's all the information. The results you're going to be viewing today, these are real results, are for the Florida North St. Augustine. Like Dr. Unruh was saying, we've broken the University of Florida into 3 different north, central, and south. So these are very specific, and we've helped split the nitrogen. So we've already done a lot of that pre-thinking for the consumer. And so you have all of these different, oh, look here, we've known that you're in this area. So we've provided the Florida fertilizer ordinances. Yes, I did go to speech therapy for 6 years as a child, and I still work on that regularly. And then let's see, let's go back into the dashboard for you. Look at the results. Then you'll see, various things like, make sure your turf is actively growing when and then what is the obvious answer? That you're mowing and growing. We try to do certain things along the way for tooltips. And then this is what you're normally used to right here. So very much, I can't tell you over and over and over again how many times a consumer has come in and said, I don't know what 2 pounds of nitrogen means. And how do I make that into a different product? So we've done that for them. We took all of this information. We have all the various different levels, and we put it into a shopping list of how much to use, and here's what you will need. And then most importantly, here is where you reach this point, and let's say the consumer has more questions, okay? Well, boom, go right here, need to connect. And depending on the great thing that what we talked about, every 2 weeks, we get more and more and more, deeper and deeper and more involved. So just check back in the next, goodness, 2 months. Even this process will begin to even finer tune and putting more and more information about your county into the process. And my favorite part, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say, I just shared all my results with the local co-op. They've already got my order ready. So they can easily share. This is my favorite part. People share it to Facebook. They can text it by copying it here. And you can even share it by email and email over your results. Again, trying to make it super easy, because let's say that this is a landscaper wanting to talk to the client, or vice versa, a homeowner wanting to talk to a landscaper. They get to interchangeably talk back and forth and see that information. Now, one thing we're going to talk about of how we can be stronger and better. We want to make sure that we provide as much information to the homeowner and to the user and to the extension as possible. I'm going to let Dr. Unruh kind of be the head person on this, but we have a Zendesk program that literally helps connect the user to the extension beyond those hours too. They can get in touch with you and formulate a ticket. And we will be looking to work with various extension agents who are big cheerleaders with this program, and possibly getting emails that we can then circulate. And Dr. Unruh can talk more about that. But it's as simple as leaving a ticket in our Zendesk program saying, why is my pH so low? Why are my phosphorus levels so high? Whatever question they may have about their results, they can put in a ticket for that. And then we can port that to the exact extension agent who's aware of this. And all they do is hit reply to an email, and they're able to see the results. It's a great program. And again, going back to that data collection, those questions and certain things, there might be a trend of something going on in Florida. All of those questions will be data housed and turned back over to Florida and for research. Now, in contact, the easiest thing, this will be in the letter to the extension, is order at Soil Kit, and we'll get the pay on use. We have about 67 packages that are going out that we've worked with Dr. Unruh. And we'll be sending out 20 to 50 of these to various 67 locations. So if you need more, I'll put the contact information, order at Soil Kit. If you have any questions, support at Soil Kit. And then the UF contact is Dr. Unruh. One thing I want to emphasize is as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into this, and or have recommendations or advice of how we can implement more tools, more features, a better experience, I'm happy to Zoom with anybody at any point in time and communicate back and forth and talk at a deeper level. I know it's kind of drinking through a little bit of a fire hose right now. And so we're working through that. And let's look at one of these questions. So if the ordinance says nitrogen products must be 30% slow release, do the products recommended already take into account? Great question. Yes, I've learned some great mathematical equations lately for how to do the slow release equations to make sure that we do that alignment. Yes, we're taking into account of that. If you notice anything or want to add something to that, send that to us also. We want to make sure that all of the tools to make Florida friendly fertilizer and all of the ordinances, right now we have them at the fingertips, but if we can draw them in any more, what if the products are not available? Do you recommend specific products? Right now with the turf grass, I have not found one. Are you meaning are you meaning that what if the products are not available, Miss Tina? Would you mean that maybe a store doesn't carry them, or what would you mean by that? And Matthew, could we make these available to our local independent garden? Absolutely, that's no problem. And I think that actually goes back into Tina's discussion. We need to make sure that I can help guide them through what products need to be used as recommended products. So I can even help them select products.
Ooh, the questions are coming in fast and furious now.
Yes, I knew we needed a good 30 minutes to make sure we get these.
If I can ask, just so that we know, if when you guys are posting questions, if you post them over on the Q&A, I'm assuming everybody sees no, only the hosts and see the Q&A. There's some redundancy there as well. Maybe we do this if we could get, because the questions are going to come in there faster than that little ticker will. If they can post them over there in the question and answer, and then we'll come back and respond to them. And so let me go back and respond to a couple of the questions that have come out. So one was, do you only recommend high yield products? And will that be an issue with UF requiring we recommend at least 3 different brands, companies, vendors? The disclaimer that is included in that was the disclaimer written by UF General Counsel. And so we're off the hook in that sense. And so the recommendations that are specific that come in, again, those are coming directly from Agritech. There was a question about, so customers that want small raised bed gardens in their yards can use this new method, or do they go to the old testing methods? You can use either. We're on this rollout, we're focused really on the turf. But and my next few statements are going to relate to several of the questions that are there. This soil is sent to a lab. The lab does the Malick 3 analysis. The lab results then come back to soil kit. And from there, then that's where that interpretation piece comes in. And we have gone and working with Agritech so that the recommendations that result, or the recommendations that come from the interpretations at present are those that are approved by the Plant Nutrient Oversight Committee at the University of Florida. So phosphorus recommendations that come out of the Extension Soil Testing Lab will be no different than the phosphorus recommendations that are coming out of the Soil Kit platform. Recognize, or let me also state this, that I'll be going before the Plant Nutrient Oversight Committee and making some recommended changes. And phosphorus is a big one. We've got a lot of science that tells us our phosphorus recommendations for turf grass are too high. And so I will be recommending in February that we lower those phosphorus recommendations. I mean, Florida, some of the world's largest phosphate mines are in Florida. And we know that established turf does not need very much phosphorus. So that answers Stephen's question there. How do our recommendations compare to the ESTL? Let's see. Evan, you asked, do the results mention when to apply the recommended fertilizer? And the answer is yes. And those we're working with, so as was mentioned, the recommendations come from Agritech, but we've been in a lot of conversations of looking at, North Florida, no fertilizer before April 15th, no fertilizer after September 15th. And so we're working with those types of constraints and putting them into the system so that when those recommendations come out, they are consistent with what UF is already saying. Let's see, we've answered that. So Sheila, you asked the question, it's a very good question. Will it be possible to account for reclaimed water in those recommendations? That is a kind of a blossoming field of research. And so for many of you that are on the webinar today, you may have not met AJ Lindsay, not to be confused with AJ Reisinger in Soil and Water Science, but AJ Lindsay is our new urban horticulturalist on our Gainesville campus. And then we have Marco Schiavone in South Florida. And so doing a lot of work with the reclaimed water side. AJ is establishing his lab to look at soil mineralization, which gets into the age of the landscape. And so we know practically that you go into a very old landscape, 30-year-old landscape that has a really thick organic layer. It's probably receiving a sufficient amount of nitrogen. And so that's where as this data becomes available, that we can make some refinements to our fertilizer recommendations to take those things into consideration. Tina asks, will it take into account ordinances with restricted periods, and will it provide other aspects of the local recommendations? How about if there is a named hurricane? So yes and yes and yes. One of the things that is we've met and talked about this over the last year is Christina's quick to say we're going to crawl, then we're going to walk, and then we're going to run. As I mentioned in the beginning, our fertilizer recommendations in Florida are really 3 regions, 5 grasses, multiple rates, rather confusing. And so as we move into this, we're in the crawling stage now. And one of our big things is making sure that there is consistency at the basic level. And that is something that I think we have lacked previously. And so as Christina mentioned, about every 2 weeks, a new feature kind of rolls out. And we're working right now, the programmers are working with the Florida Friendly folks on the database where we have all of that ordinance data so that it becomes a real seamless, the buzzword is API, whatever the heck that stands for, so that database reaches in, pulls that data, for that particular municipality, and then spits out a recommendation that is consistent with what is there. I'll mention it as a tease, but in the time you're going to hear about Soil Kit 365. That's almost but that's where linkages to soil temperatures, linkage to weather data, linkages to all of that really come into play, which I think, if there's a named hurricane and somebody, 2 weeks before the hurricane's coming, had sent a soil sample in, that's where the power of this powered by Soil Kit really comes into being a really snazzy tool to be able to issue these warnings as well. And it can do it post, saw that at the tracking of all of this. And so the Soil Kit comes back, the recommendations have been sent, and then all of a sudden the system says, hey, we got a storm bearing down on West Palm Beach. That system can auto generate an email to that customer saying, hey, if you haven't fertilized yet, let's hold off. That type of thing can be put in there.
So I think one of the questions we keep getting is organic. And on launch, we're focusing a lot on turf. We do have a garden category. So again, every 2 weeks, something releases. We do have a garden category that's getting approved. It's already kind of pretty much sitting there waiting to go. We're making sure that all of that is good. There will be organic options for that also. I think when it comes to lawn organic, right now, we do have conventional. We definitely can write to organic. That releases, if I'm understanding correctly, that will release in our April release. I'm not sure if it will make it by the end of March. So what Dr. Unruh is talking about is that, you split the nitrogens to make sure that you only put up to 1 pound or 0.7 nitrogen and all of the different things. But that's great for the one application. But then what about the other applications? And then let's say there's a little bit of lime needed and then so forth. So we'll make sure to put those into various seasonal breakdowns in 365. So come around March, you'll start to see that. And then also they'll be available to even add weather widgets into it. So that's exciting. That will not be provided, but they can be able to plug those in should they want to do those upgrades. That will be there. And, great question from Matthew. That's the one thing we've talked about. What will be the procedure for agents to view the soil sample recommendations for their county? We make you a user. So what you do is you have a soilkit.com user. You agree to all of the terms. We put you in the backside and you will not be privy to any PI information, but you will have all of the information you need at your fingertips. And what I'll ask for you guys as you want to see the information, what you can do is just hit support at Soil Kit and then go ahead and sign up as a user at soilkit.com, and then we'll connect you on the backside. And I'll work with Dr. Unruh to make sure that we get all of that, also possibly in a letter beyond this webinar on how to do this.
Yeah, if you want to get in and look under the hood a little bit more than just looking at the outside of the vehicle, shoot me an email, because we're looking for some of those that want to get in. And as this thing comes down, within your county, we could overwhelm you in a hurry, depending on the acceptance level of this. If you're one of those and says, I want to see every email that comes, I might not recommend that. But you'll be able to see the cool thing about Zendesk is also an artificial intelligence platform, right? And so it can identify those recurring questions. And a lot of people ask the same question, as you county agents know. And so we generate a response to that question, which then really simplifies that process. So that same question gets asked, boom, it just auto generates a response. Tina, you asked from an extension perspective, is there a way to measure impact? I sure hope so. One of the things I track, of course, all my EDAS publications, I know what they've been for years. I'm really excited to see what this does. And that was one of the 4 measurable benefits, I think, from that I, enumerated earlier, where we can start looking at this and tracking this. As we make changes, in particular to state of phosphorus recommendations, we'll be able to, I think, measure some of that and track that. Are there plans to expand the service to crops and pastures? In pastures, for example, recommendation for summer legumes or cool season forages. I think, I won't speak for Agritech, but I think they would, they want to take the world on. And so in time, assuming, again, we're crawling and then walking and then running and, this, I think the sky's the limit as to where this potentially could go.
Yes,
Tatiana, go ahead.
wanted to make sure that we launched on the right foot with, the majority of who the users need to be. And that turf, that's where the sweet spot is. That's where Dr. Unruh's sweet spot is, my sweet spot is. And actually, when you're looking at a lab, just so you're aware of, nationwide, I call labs, it's 75% are turf grass. So that tells you right there that if you were to try to really attack to the biggest potential of market opportunity to make sure they're following the right principles and rules, you would go right to that 75% category, which is where we're kicking off.
Tatiana, you asked, will recommendations for mixed lawns be produced? Eventually. Right now, when you register the kit, it pulls up and there's kind of a graphic that shows, what grass do you have? There would be on the surface, we could sit there and, if we talk about mixed lawns, in other words, is a little bit of Bahia mixed with centipede, mixed with St. Augustine, we could probably generate that. My research program, we're focused on a lot of mixed species lawns, where we're mixing perennial peanut with turf grass. The science isn't there yet to be able to make that happen. But I think if it come down to, a couple different grasses that were mixed, we can probably extrapolate to the middle. If you had a Bahia centipede lawn, those numbers are going to be pretty similar. If you've got a St. Augustine centipede lawn, maybe we'd shoot in the middle, or shoot on the low end. That's another thing, and let me interact. We made the decision literally last week. We have those nitrogen rate ranges from 2 to 4 pounds, or 4 to 6 pounds. I have suggested that Agritech's recommendations center up on the low end, not the high end, not the midpoint, but the low end. If for some reason, and then with that kind of that caveat statement there that start low and you can always add a little bit in time, but I think it's important to start on the low end. Stephen asks, are there any spreader settings given? And the answer is no. In fact, that's on the bags, you may see some spreader settings, but it's interesting, and I just actually learned this recently. A lot of fertilizer manufacturers are no longer putting recommendations other than for their own equipment on the bag for liability reasons. And so, if you have an ortho product and you have an ortho spreader, you'll see those rates. But it's a liability issue, which is why they're not doing that. Will the same lab be used for sample processing? If so, what lab will do the processing? Many labs have various standards. Okay, so this is a national lab. It is a lab that IFAS uses for overflow. It's also a lab that is was recently added into the ag regulatory BMP compliant side of things. And so it's an accredited laboratory. Yes, this webinar is being recorded. Somebody asked earlier about tissue. Not at the present time. Right now focused on soils.
But yes, the pay on use kit, I'm glad you said that. We will have it covered with a sticker that you can't open it. There will be 2 stickers placed. You cannot open it without ripping it that says you have to register this before mailing. But it's always good to emphasize it too on location. And going back to it, how many samples can be? Want to reiterate that, remember, we track and we follow the customer all around in the process. And we also have it specialty weight because it's less than a pound. So this is perfectly placed in here. It has the tracking. And if you look, the kit ID is tied to the tracking ID that has the kit ID here. So as the USPS scans this, as soon as they accept it, I follow it along at every checkpoint. And I know when the sample, as soon as the sample arrives at the lab, boop, the lab scans it in. And by the way, the users on the other side of this product gets an email. Your sample just arrived at the lab. Here's what to expect over the 1 to 2 business days until your results post. So the nitrogen levels and recommendations are going to be provided in that they will be recommended on the low end. It's a range, and we made sure not to go over the max. So we looked at the various levels for the turf grasses, and Dr. Unruh split them up, and then we align those splits and the nitrogens to the product. And then we do follow the slow releases. That's very helpful because I'm sure, Tina, I think what you're describing is probably what a lot of your users have frustrations with on, great, you've told me 2 pounds of nitrogen is needed. Great, I'm supposed to use no more than a pound or 0.7. Well, how do I put that to a 15-0-15? And we take care of all of that.
I think to add on to that, Tina, as you know, nitrogen soil tests are at the present time not real reliable because of the tests are reliable, the results are not, because nitrogen is quite dynamic in the system, and there's actually an IFAS publication that speaks to that. But there is a focus, with regenerative ag and soil health and a lot of that. There is efforts right now in the research world to look at different soil tests for nitrogen. We get a lot of this, and you'll even see when the sample comes back, you see this ENR estimated nitrogen release. That one is, it's one of the other one you'll see is like a CO2 burst study, the Solvita. Many of these will provide some results, but the results have not been really ground truthed or calibrated. And then there's other soil tests out there that use some different technologies. Again, those are not have not been vetted by good sound science. The lab here, just like the UF Extension Soil Testing Lab, uses the Malik-3 soil test, and so where soil is actually used to determine the rates. It says here, ESTL science states that a tissue sample is needed for BAHEA and P recommendations, or is there differentiation between pasture and turf grass? So yes, in fact, if you probably are familiar, if you look at the Extension Soil Testing Lab's recommendations on BAHEA grass, it's like 2 or 3 pages. Is the BAHEA for grazing? Is it for hay? Is it occasionally cut for hay? Is it sometimes always cut? And so there's a great level of confusion there, and then it points to getting the tissue. Right now, turf is a different ballgame because we're not really focused on yield. And so, and then what, as I stated earlier, I'm going to be recommending that we actually revise downward our phosphorus recommendation. Again, because established turf grass doesn't need very much phosphorus, and most of our soils across the state have adequate phosphorus in them. So there's a slide, I think you should be able, yeah, you see the two. Speak a little bit about this. There is a twin pack, and then there's a pro pack that'll be coming down the line. The twin is just that, there's two, and there's a little bit of a price break there. And then the pro pack is really being targeted to our commercial audience, and so where they can get even, you know, a greater price break and be able to buy the kits in volume. There's also some tremendous opportunities there in the professional realm. Again, as we grow this, the professionals, maybe they use a particular brand of fertilizer. They have a relationship with one of the fertilizer companies. The recommendations can be written back to those particular products that they like to use based off of that relationship they have with their supplier. There's also kind of some snazzy features in there. And in fact, I was visiting with a landscaper recently, and he said, you know, I like to share the results, share the interpretations with the client, but not necessarily the results. You know, and so there's methods by which parts and pieces can be toggled on and off, so that reports can be generated and as well. So, you know, part of it is the professional selling a service. They don't want to give away all the tricks of the trade. And so there's some balance that is there as well. So
I made sure to put in support at Soil Kit again, because it goes to my Zendesk system, that email, and 3 people get it, and it creates a ticket so you won't get lost in my inbox. So if I can meet with you guys on a Zoom to go over this, I know that Rebecca is going to share the video link. This is being recorded, and more questions are just going to come up as you have a user that comes in. And don't worry, I've seen them all. I definitely have. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But most importantly, again, every 2 weeks, we do something better, and we make this product even more invigorating for the user. So if you have feedback of how we can really place the tool sets in a place that the convenient consumer gets to use the right product for the right reason and perfect this even more, my ear is open. And we just want to make sure that we have a great experience in Florida. And this is really going to be, you guys are going to be my cheerleader. I really appreciate all that you guys are. We've said it all the time, or I hear it all the time. Extension is the greatest unkept secret. I mean, or the kept secret. A lot of the times I'm on the phone and people don't know where their local extension is. They don't know anything about the local extension. And we want to make sure that we can take this product, literally ship it to them from online, get them connected. And then guess what? You could share your results with your extension agent, or you can have information about that and really make those digital connecting dots. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm really good at the software system between the lab and helping. But when it comes to talking about what's going on, and then suddenly you're talking about fairy circles and grass and other things, that is where you guys are the experts on these kind of things. And so being able to connect the user to you guys, we want to make sure that we make that really strong.
I'm adding in here on March 21st at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Jen has me set up to do a FFL homeowners webinar on this whole soil kit thing. And then Tom Wickman and I and Essen, we've been in discussion about doing a webinar as well for the commercial side. So GI, BMP. So likewise, if you are giving presentations and you want some of the graphics, you know, the pictures of the that we've shared with you today. We'd be glad to share those with you as well, so that you can include them in your PowerPoints that you may develop. We'll also be going in and adding this option within our EDIS publications that are related to turf. And so those that reference soil testing, yet just providing, yet another option for this as well.
Dr. Unruh, will you be introducing at the February 28th Pest Conference in Niceville?
Sure. How do you know my schedule?
It was a question.
Oh, Sheila, yeah. So again, kind of recap, this thing goes live February 15th. IFAS communication folks have been just wonderful, and you're going to start to see some social media blasts that are going out. In advance of that, the media are going to be alerted to this new tool shortly, right around that same time. And so you're going to see a lot more about this, and we're trying to create a demand as well. So Christina had mentioned that kits are going to be sent to every county. And so the more populated counties are going to get more than the not so populated counties. We literally just went down the list and said, okay, populated. At the present time, you give all those out, or it looks like you're getting low, shoot an email, and they'll restock you. I would discourage you, from just flying over the beach in one of them airplanes with a banner and dropping them out of the plane. If a client comes in and them to be a serious client, then provide that kit to them. If they're just fishing for information, maybe hold back again. There is a cost associated with these things, and so as well, they're not being underwritten by the government. So.
I agree, I agree, Julie. It really is exciting to really help clarify, because at the end of the day, the homeowner, the landscaper really does want to do the right thing, and providing the information where they are, meeting the consumer where they are is what we're trying to do. And I'll ask a favor from all of you guys. I'm here, support at Soil Kit, but if you know of a landscape company, a professional, any kind of landscape company who would really benefit from that, right now I'm going right to them and the convenient consumer and really engaging them in this program. They say 70 to 80% are DIYers, but there's a huge amount of landscapers in Florida also. So just know that if you can throw anyone my way, I'm going to be selling the kit for University of Florida. So I'm your salesman now. So let me get to work.
It's very interesting, just the power of the tool. People order soil kits at 2:00 in the morning. It's the strangest thing to me. But I guess they can't sleep and they're thinking about their lawn, and so, hey, let's order one of these. And the other side is just with tracking tools and all of that, the soil kit folks could go in, if something gets lost, it generates a ticket, and it's a very prompt response that the private sector is really good at. The public sector is generally not quite so good at. And so will the video link be available to the consumer for for the kit? Yes. The video that was shown here is there. There is, I guess I should post this, Kirsten, maybe on our turf.ufl website. There is going to be actually a landing page there as well, where the video and all of that will be housed. The same thing if you hit that soilkit.com/Florida, it's there as well. So I think it's there. It is there. A couple more questions. Brightview and the Panhandle using an independent lab may be able to sway them. Yeah, and in fact, it was visiting Sheila with somebody, a landscaper, and well, and we were talking about, where he sends his samples, and I was telling him about what's coming down the line. He's like, I'm in. He said, the price that he's paying, and then the fact that he has to take the sample down to the facility and then pay for the shipping. He said the $28 for the Pro Pack is well within reason, and these professionals typically do a value add, and so they're going to upcharge this anyway. And then to be able to get the tool coming back from an email is handy. This is wonderful. I'm just wondering if we can improve the results and interpretation of the results from our UF Soils Lab too. Amanda, working on it. Yeah, working on it. Was not mentioned today. I mentioned the fact that this is a partnership as well with Florida Friendly Landscaping, and so Florida Friendly Landscaping has a spot within the the Extension bookstore, and these kits will also be available through underneath the Florida Friendly Landscaping section at the Extension bookstore, and so those will be there as well. You see the little logo that's there, and it'll be good. I suspect the Extension bookstore, when they travel around, and I don't expect, I know that as they travel around and do the various events, Master Gardener Conference, those types of things, they will have those resources as well. ICS, IFAS Communication Services, is a partner in all of this as well. And so the whole team over there is working with us on the marketing side and communication side. So it's they're a partner in all of this. I think as we think about wrapping up here, very interesting. When we first approached this, I knew that Dr. Engel, our vice president, has degrees in soil science. I knew that Dr. Obriza, who was at the time was our when this was first approached, was involved in this, is a soil scientist. I did not know that Dr. Gilbert, actually his PhD is in soil science. And so very interesting as we kind of approach this, them with this idea, they very warmly embraced this, and obviously a lot of hurdles that had to be cleared. It literally took a year to move through general counsel, to move through all the approvals that had to have to be done to make the public-private partnership work. And so it's been embraced from on high. So we're, like I said, really excited about it. All right. Going once, any additional, again, if you are interested in going a little bit deeper, maybe a lot deeper, shoot me an email and we'll connect you with this. It's pretty exciting to see where this can go. And so
Thanks, Joel.